All right, this is our next episode of True Wrestling Fans Discussions, continuing our Dark Side of the Ring review series. This is going to be covering XPW. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank, and I'm sorry I can't. This one was like a holy shit, and if that's the least vulgar word we use in this episode, then that'd be a shock.
Yes, this is
This
bizarre.
one was, oh my god. There's no wonder why they called it extreme and obscene. Rob
Mm.
Black's XPW. I mean, this thing was just totally off the chains. And I remember hearing something back in the day that ECW had kind of forged with them briefly. And I mean, I only heard about it literally for a minute before I never heard about them again.
Mm.
But this, I mean, we'll just get into this because there's a lot to cover. The owner, his name is Rob Zakari, aka Rob Black. Um, he, what's funny is about this. The minute this episode came on, they said that he didn't even want to be part of this episode.
Wonder why.
Right there, you got to wonder if there's a little guilt.
Yeah, well.
Because this is not the first time they tried to get him on the show. Later on, they tried to question him about an incident that he didn't want no part of. So quite a few people got interviewed during this. A couple of repeaters from a few dark sides we did earlier. The first that they interviewed was Jessica Darlin. She was a wrestling, ballet, and an adult film actress, because now this was not your ordinary wrestling organization. This was your extreme wrestling and your pornographic part of it.
What a combination.
I'm telling you, man. It'd make a 14-year-old boy blush.
Yeah.
She worked for them for about 2 years. She described Rob Black as you either love him or hate him. And in this event, I pretty much say most people kind of despise him. She referred to him as the ultimate heel, quote unquote. The next person they interviewed during this was Lizzie Borden, who happened to be his wife, who she's going to be talked about extensively during this. She was a wrestling valet and also, again, adult film actress. She dated Rob Black and eventually married him. From there, now they talk. This is where I had just mentioned they had struck a working relationship with ECW in 2000. That was pretty much the down years of ECW. They sort of hit their highlight and then their low light in that same year, unfortunately. So he struck a deal with Paul Heyman. Unfortunately, because ECW had gotten their TV contract, they parted ways with them, and that didn't set Rob Black off real well. We'll get to that in a little bit. Next guy they interviewed during this was New Jack.
Yeah.
I would call him an ECW legend, or you can call him a psychopath, whichever you want to call him.
The late great New Jack.
But unfortunately, I won't speak ill of the damned.
Yeah. I believe this is actually his last interview. The last interview that he actually does is because he passed away not too long after they filmed this,
and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, he was crazy in the ring, but if you like the hardcore ECW stuff, he was one of the legends.
Yeah.
From there, and New Jack had quite a bit to say and do into this episode. David Marquez was another guy they interviewed, a former XPW producer and director. According to David, that's when he said the Black Heyman relationship. Rob wanted to bring ECW to the West Coast, and they had an arrangement to do it. But like I said, when Heyman got his TV contract, they sort of split ties, and Black, he was pissed. They interviewed several of the wrestlers as well. Joey Munoz, pro wrestler known as Chaos. He's now the owner of Santino Brothers Wrestling in Los Angeles. Supreme, which, man, this guy was sick back in the day. I remember hearing that name. When I saw this on here, I was like, yes, I remember him. Joey was a huge fan of his. He called of Uncle Supreme. He called him the Godfather of the deathmatch wrestling. Boy, a lot of people are taking that title lately.
Yeah, seems like.
I mean, maybe we need to have a fatal four-way to decide who's the ultimate. Because I've heard this title like what, 5 times, 4 or 5 times.
Yeah,
everybody's the king of this. So another that the interview was Sylvia Munoz, former XPW employee. She was called Merch Girl. Won't give you the other name. We'll just go with Merch Girl. Mike Hartsfield was a former XPW live event producer that they talked to as well. And he said in order for David Marquez to get paid. Actually, for both of them to get paid, besides putting in their 8-hour day, they had to edit porn.
Yeah.
So on top of working the wrestling, you got to do this if you want to get paid.
All right.
I'm telling you, man.
Jesus.
Now here's a guy that's really popular in this episode. His name is William Welch, aka the Messiah.
Yeah.
He talked about in his first battle royal he was ever a part of, he took a chair shot from this guy, White Trash Johnny Webb. Great name. He gave him a chair shot. He didn't put his hands up. He took it straight on. And was told by Rob that, in fact, he liked the fact that he didn't put his hands up. He was impressed with his initiative to take the hits, which is pretty much insane. And what's funny is he gave a story about how he said he was working at a steakhouse, and he showed up to work with the marks from the chair shots from the blood, and he'd actually be told, "Go home. You can't look like that in front of the customers." I mean, the guy's trying to make a living. What do you want to do? So, in any event, the next guy they interviewed was actually in the Chris Canyon Dark Side review, Luke Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about him briefly in that one. He's a pro wrestler in XPW known as Altar Boy Luke. He was talking about how he did a 450 splash off a balcony on Supreme.
Yeah, that was a wild spot.
Yeah, on a table with thumbtacks, and they actually had to use pliers to get the tacks out. I mean, this thing was just utterly insane. There's some crazy stuff here. Now, from here, they talked about Rob Black always wanted to go to the next level, kind of like how Onita was in FMW. Yeah. Like, what's next? Where's the next limit? Well,
fire.
It always stands with. It always, it always goes to fire.
All right, always somehow fire always gets in. Fire, always. Explosions, and
it never goes right. And in this event, it didn't go right because they wanted to do a fire spot. They sent a member of the ring crew to get lighter fluid, and instead he got charcoal fluid, which
same difference.
It's just oil based.
Yeah,
no big deal. They kept pouring it because the fire kept going out and going out, and by this point, when Supreme hits it in the match, his shirt's soaked with it. So what do you think's going to happen?
Flame on.
Exactly. The Human Torch. You are right. Supreme was soaked in the fluid. He's running around on fire now around the ring. Chaos goes for the pin because that's who he's facing, and Supreme's skin gets on him. I mean, this was just if you have a weak stomach. I mean, if you go to watch the episode after you watch our review, it is a little gruesome. But when they talked to him when he went to talk to him in the hospital, he's like, I would have done it any other way. Like, he enjoyed the skit despite what happened to him.
Teach his own.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. If you love it, knock yourself out. And that's what I'm saying. Half of these guys should have went to FMW. Now, this is where a story gets a little fun because now ECW staged its first live event in Los Angeles. It was Heatwave 2000. And I'm not quite remembering of the main event. Doesn't really matter. Black, who they said always had a mafia mentality.
Yeah, Sonny Black.
Yeah, exactly.
Not quite.
Yeah, it's a fugazi. So in his mind, ECW is coming into his territory. Okay, didn't know you owned Los Angeles, but all right. Rob Black orders his ring crew to distribute XPW flyers at the event and top talent to sit ringside to be just a disruptive presence. Kind of like ECW was at what was it? It was one of the WWE events in Philly that they were sitting ringside, but there was a deal there.
Right, exactly. That's the only difference.
Yeah, exactly. During the main event, they got thrown out because one of them throws up the X sign. I believe it was Messiah that did it, and they all got ordered out. I know Just Incredible was one of the wrestlers in the main event.
Ironic, because then later on he gets thrown out for,
Well, yeah, we're going to be getting to a lot of the Messiah. In any event, what's funny is on the other side of the arena that not a lot of people knew about this is that XPW ring crew were getting a beatdown from ECW, and New Jack's leading the beatdown. So it's ironic, isn't it? Oh boy. So they go from there now in April 2001, which actually was March 2001. ECW folded to rival promoter. We all know who that was. And Black welcomed in some of the ECW's top talent to the roster, and a lot of the guys that were already working there were like, You're talking a lot of smack. There's no way you can get these guys." Sure enough, Sabu, Shane Douglas, Terry Funk, Candido, Kronos, New Jack, they all showed up.
Yep.
These were the guys that we wanted for the actual invasion of WWE, and look what we got instead. We already had WWE guys already there, part of the invasion. It is what it is. So another familiar from episodes past, Sabu was interviewed during this. Sabu was also in the FMW episode. He was told XPW would be ECW on steroids.
Yes. Yeah.
I laughed at that. I'm like, no. I mean, you're a little out there, but no, I don't know. XPW had escalated the violence to disturbing new extremes, as Chris Jericho narrating it put it. Luke Hawx had talked about a show he was wrestling, Angel and Supreme. Chairs hit him in the head, but he put his hand up. And from what he said, Black cursed out Hawks for doing that. And I remember he said that Jerry Lynn, former ECW and WWE star, had pulled him aside and said, "The hell with him. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right.
You did it the right way.
The right way. You protected yourself. Yeah.
Exactly." Unfortunately, Black decided to punish him for that. And so on the next show, he had Luke handcuffed and crucified and told Supreme as payback to hit him several times unprotected with the chair. This was brutal to watch. And he said that he has an indent in his head from it. For all he knew, he had a skull fracture because he didn't have any insurance.
Yeah, he said he had no medical insurance, and they told him, "Stay up. You're probably concussed. Don't go to sleep."
Oh, not severely concussed is how they put it. Yeah.
And he's just in his hotel room, like trying to stay awake, and he's busy throwing up. Like, oh my god, crazy!
You got to be kidding me, man. Yeah. By this point, you're getting my notice. Like, goodbye. Because something like this, man, this is insane.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So by this point now, with this happening, Messiah decided he was the 2-belt champion in there. Threw down the belts and told Rob Black, "I'm done." Black was a player of words, and so he told him, "If you're done, I'm done." He goes, "What do you mean you're done if I'm done? If you're done, XPW's done."
XPW, no XPW, yeah.
So for that, he decided to stick around, and he was told by several people that he was full of it. He just played you, which is ridiculous. But in the end, Rob Black got what he wanted. He got his champion to stay. This is where it gets interesting now between the two, because they talked about that when Lizzie and Rob fought, she would have the tendency to go over to Messiah's house, and he felt he was being used as a chess piece at this point. Oh, well, I'm mad at you. I'll go to his house. Oh, okay, I'm back with him. I'll go over to here now. So he felt like he was getting played.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, though, they hooked up. Typical. And Rob said, as they put it, if it was on camera, no problem.
Right.
If it's off camera,
Yeah.
So now this is where Mr. Mob guy here.
Yeah, it was weird because they were talking about how he would encourage her to flirt with people.
Yes.
But like not do anything with them, but like really flirt with them.
Total hands off.
Yeah, he would get off on that. The fact that like, oh, they can't have her, but then sure enough.
They said he always wanted to be Hugh Hefner in this aspect, but he was no Hugh Hefner.
Not quite.
No, just off. So, in any event now, when Messiah fails to show for an XPW event, they were doing a house show. Rumors of the affair with Lizzie Borden began to circulate now. Like, oh, well, if he's not here, he must be with her. Sabu showed up and Messiah didn't. They were supposed to fight each other. Rob found out about the whole thing. Black's relationship with Lizzie survives the affair, and Messiah is now exiled from XPW. And they used a cheesy apparition storyline where Messiah went to heaven.
He went to heaven, yeah. Yeah, it was so ridiculous. This is like A bad version of Undertaker dying
The
Royal
Royal
Rumble
Rumble
'94. Yeah,
1994. Yeah.
it's like a bad version of that.
Oh my God. Or a current version of Monday Night Raw. Who knows? Um, yeah, that gimmick, and they're showing it, and the CGI on it is just really bad. It's just like, all right, whatever. Um, Messiah had a conversation with Rob where Rob threatened him, told him that he had 3 days to live. Tells him that I'll buy you a plane ticket to Michigan. Just get the hell out of Los Angeles. And he tells Rob he's not running. I'm not afraid. He's not afraid of him. He's not backing down. Uh, so they go off their story like for a minute to go to the next part, which was they had a high stakes match between New Jack and Vic Grimes. Now, New Jack was going to retaliate against Grimes for a fractured skull he suffered 2 years prior in ECW.
Right.
Anybody knows New Jack in the ring knows that if he gets an injury in the ring, he's going to give it to you back tenfold, and he's not going to stop until he does it. That's just the way he was. And it was a scaffolding match too. Now, what's funny is they forged. Remember, they forged the insurance papers.
The insurance papers, yeah,
for the show, and there was no insurance for the event. And this was Mike Hartsfield that did this. And the narrator back, he's like, "Wait a minute, there was no insurance for this." Goes,
like, well, no. I was like, well.
No. Are you for what happened to Vic Grimes? And is you telling me the guy's not going to get paid? Oh my God! And the fall that he took,
that was bad. That was bad.
If his legs didn't hit the rope and him bouncing back, he would have been on the concrete. And according to New Jack, he would have been splattered all over, and that would have been fine for him.
He got lucky. He got really, really, really lucky. But I saw another interview with New Jack, not on this show, which he basically said he did it on purpose. He said he was trying to kill him. He didn't say it on this one, I don't think, but he's
no, but the intention was there. I mean, you could tell that he
wanted to throw him out of. He wanted him
with the taser.
He wanted him to go. Yeah, he tasered him too, but he wanted him to fall outside on the concrete.
Yeah,
he tried to throw him that way. And instead, he hit the table, and then he hit the rope, and the ropes kept him in.
Slingshot him back where he landed on his neck.
Thank God he was.
I don't know, man. And New Jack was like, "Well, I wish he would hit the concrete."
Right, he wanted to. And then they asked New Jack whose idea. What did he say? They asked him. They asked him whose idea that was, right? The scaffolding match, and he pointed the blame at Black, right?
Yeah,
Rob Black.
So now, this was that's I couldn't even watch that. They showed it twice. I couldn't.
Yeah.
After this, New Jack leaves Black, and now Black has lost another big star. But New Jack accomplished what he wanted.
Yeah, but New Jack turns around and says that Rob Black was happy about it.
Yeah,
he's like, he did a great job. Yeah, it was great. And
he's like, I got paid.
Right. And he's like, he didn't care. He gave him, supposedly got a bonus. I don't know. But
well, remember what New Jack said earlier when they asked him, do you think anybody from ECW was upset that you went over there? And he's like, he's referring to Heyman. He's like, F him. I need money. I got to eat.
Yeah.
What do I care about?
I mean, it's true.
It is. I mean, he's got to make a living, and obviously WWE is not picking up his contract. He's got to do something.
So
I don't blame him for wanting to eat. I mean, hell.
So he hightailed it out of there.
Yeah, literally. And to make matters worse at this point now, Messiah publicly admits to the affair with Lizzie Borden.
So right, because he was in the ring. He was in the ring at a match, and like they were like saying that what he did, and he's like, yeah, and she loved it, or something to that effect. Paraphrasing her.
The fans at an epic pro wrestling event, June 16, 2002. They chanted, I'm gonna paraphrase it for this show. You banged Lizzie.
Yeah.
They said something else, but we're not going there. And he responded, and she loved it.
Yeah.
Well, she effing loved it. Now, by this point, Rob Black is keeping tabs on everything this guy is doing. So, he said that he wasn't afraid of Rob Black at this point. He said his 23-year-old mind it wasn't the smartest thing to do to combat with the fans with that. So Messiah attended an XPW event now, sat in the nosebleed section.
Another brilliant move.
Exactly. Rob found out he was there. And Messiah gets a phone call and says, "You need to leave." Rob's pissed and yelling at everybody.
Well, the beginning of it was that at the event they started throwing around that beach ball.
Yeah.
Bouncing it around because I guess they were bored.
Well, yeah, the event was lacking.
Yeah, and so I guess I don't know if he was egging them on or whatever, but he gets involved in the whole thing, and then they find out that he's there, and his cell phone rings, and
You need to get out of here because he's pissed.
He's yelling at all the wrestlers, so they're telling him, "Listen, get out of here," because he's yelling at all of us back here, and he's going crazy.
And it just gets worse from there. He starts talking about a story that he got home from work. He had just recently bought a Nintendo GameCube, and so he was playing video games. Front door opens and two guys walked in. He thought they were with his roommate.
Those roommates' friends, yeah.
Yeah, like, what's up? And all of a sudden he hears them saying, "You get him. Nah, you get him." And he turns to the side and he sees them. And all of a sudden now they jumped him. They put him in a chokehold. And he said that they didn't really execute it well because he's been in them before. But the other one was able to get his hand out, and they pulled out clippers. And they clipped off his thumb.
His thumb, yeah. It's like Yakuza. Crazy.
Then they tried the other hand, but he was able to break away.
He was able to keep it fixed.
He tries to make it to the door. He said his hand is just like going up against the lock because he's got no thumb, trying to get out. They grab him back. They hit him with the fishbowl, and they're punching him repeatedly. Now they got tired.
Right, they gassed.
Obviously, no stamina in these guys.
No cardio.
And he got one into an arm bar, the Jericho style, and they started screaming, and they wound up leaving.
Yeah. Well, he's able to get. I think you break. They don't actually say it, but you believe that he broke the guy's arm.
If you put enough pressure on it, you can snap it.
And then he got to the door, and he opened. As soon as he opened the door, then they bolted out of there. Yeah.
It was that arm
and then
bar.
he was looking for. Oh man, he's looking for his thumb. He can't find it, and then he passes out.
Yeah, it was just.
That sucks too, because they didn't actually say who found him unconscious.
Yeah,
they left out that whole part because I know if you can get it back in time, they can, and you can put it in ice. They can put it back together. They can, but I guess they never found it or they didn't get it in time. I don't know. We don't know what happened, but
he's without it because they did show him at a wrestling event with it when he went back to Epic. So from there, they went back to Jessica Darlin, who had actually seen what happened to Messiah on America's Most Wanted.
Yeah,
and she's like, "What the hell happened? What happened? What's going on? Where did this come from?" She knew who did it, even though she couldn't prove it.
Right. I mean, pretty much.
Which was a lot of speculation to a lot of people.
Yeah.
New Jack actually calls Rob and asks him about it. New Jack's the only guy that'll be straightforward with you with this.
Yeah, but he's gonna admit it,
Rob told him, "No, I didn't do it."
Hey, did you put? Come on, who's gonna admit that?
Hey, did you get you guys to jump Messiah and cut his thumb off, man? What's up? No. Rob was heard saying that without, be careful who you hang out with because you just might get your arm chopped off. I mean, why would you say something like that shortly after this happens? I mean, come on. I mean, you're practically you're taunting it out there.
Yeah,
it's me, but you can't prove it.
Right. And one of the girls, I forget her name off top of my head. She was saying how they were making jokes about shaking hands, with
the thumb, yeah. And he was also still pissed that several of the wrestlers were still good friends with the guy.
They were still in touch with him.
Which I guess he expected 100% loyalty.
He's lucky. Let me tell you something. That guy's lucky that he did it. The guy that he did it to. Had it been somebody like New Jack or somebody like that, he probably would have been dead. There would have been retaliation. Yeah, there would have been, definitely retaliation for something like that. Cutting somebody's thumb off, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is. So a month after this incident now, Sylvia Munoz left XPW because now they're all starting to all right, we're out of here. Darkseid actually received no comment from Rob Black regarding the incident.
Shocking.
Well, if you couldn't get him for the show, you think you're going to get a comment on the incident? Come on. Messiah went back now to Epic Pro Wrestling, all pumped up, said this wasn't going to keep him out of it. And now, here's where the show takes a turn for Rob Black, unfortunately for him. In 2002, the FBI was going after Rob and Lizzie for pushing legal boundaries with their latest adult films. Now, shortly after this, Jessica Darlin left XPW, because she's like, I'm not into this stuff that they're doing. I mean, I'm not getting into it, but it was just way out there stuff. I mean, if you care to elaborate on it, I mean,
no, it was like snuff, kind of like snuff film stuff, I guess.
Snuff
right.
to the extreme.
Right. That's the best way to
just put it that way. Yeah. Exactly. Rob Black issued a challenge to the U.S. Attorney John Ashcroft at this point, and they're like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" Saying that he couldn't do anything about his films, and it was, I believe it was, what's his name? Give me 1 second. David Marquez or Hartsfield. It was one of them that said, "Why would you do that? Why would you go and literally challenge the U.S.
Federal government
attorney and the federal government? Why would you do that? Because you're dropping the gauntlet, and they're going to come." From that, now there was a meeting in Rob's office. Rob stood up and said, "Hey, when we get raided by the feds, everyone report to Kevin." And they're like, "Wait a minute, not if, but when." Not if,
but when. Yeah, when we get raided. Yeah.
And that that's who you know next to speak to. And like I said, it wasn't a matter of if, but when. And I love that part because he knew they were coming. They were facing multiple charges for violating federal obscenity statutes. Rob and Lizzie were going to face 50 years in prison and millions in fines. This exhausted all their assets. The porn business was out. The wrestlers' checks now were bouncing because of all of this. He challenged the U.S. government, who have more lawyers, more time, and more money. You're gonna lose.
Yeah. He actually, I mean, I guess we got to give his lawyer some credit because he was actually able to get a lot of the charges dropped, but eventually he just ran out. I guess he ran out of money, or just he couldn't win the last one, and
really he couldn't get that last that last dollar to get that final charge.
Hey, man, lawyer fees are a lot, so it's possible that he just ran out of cash. And
well, I think he got lucky on this one because they pled guilty to conspiracy to distribute obscene materials.
Yeah,
and Rob Black got pretty much 1 year and 1 day, 366 days in jail. That's not bad considering you were facing 50 in the beginning of this. I mean,
she got his partner got she went to jail too, right? I think
Lizzie went to jail too. I believe she got the same sentence. They didn't said what she got.
Yeah.
They just focused on him because they said after prison, Rob left wrestling and left her.
Right. One of the girls said that she wasn't innocent, but at the same time,
she wasn't that guilty
either. Right. Yeah.
So I mean, that's pretty much XPW for you in a nutshell.
Oh, I thought it was an interesting episode.
It definitely belonged on Dark Side, but it was definitely the WTF of the season. To me, at least, I'm like,
because
this was totally out there.
I really was.
Porn and wrestling. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
I hate to say what's next, but oof.
Well, next week will be a lot more.
I am so looking forward to the next one. The steroid trials of Vincent Kennedy McMahon. I cannot wait.
And they were able to get Vince's lawyer. I don't know how the hell they pulled that off. Vince's lawyer is going to be on the show.
I can't wait for
this. I think it's Jerry McDivitt. I think that's his name. Jerry McDivitt. I could be wrong, but I think that's his name. So
I will definitely be intrigued on this one. We've been waiting 30 years for this.
Yeah.
To see the insides of this whole thing with Vince and how he beat the federal government.
Yeah, that's going to be
It's going to be interesting, yes.
Absolutely.
Great season finale for Dark Side.
Definitely. All right, so you guys make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. See you guys soon.
Take care.